So such a sexy word. Money and budgeting. Dude, do you know the difference between $1 million right now and taking a penny that doubles for 31 days?
I don't ever see them. I don't even go look at my gross pay because it makes me want to die because
Why did they not teach us this in school? Basically, you're becoming your own bank. It's a game changer.
Welcome back and happy Tuesday, turkeys. How long have we known each other?
We've known each other for 2 decades.
I am not apologizing for who I am or what I like or the people that I love.
How do I be a wife? How do I be a mom? And how do I be myself and all of that? You didn't see that coming, did you?
Welcome back.
Happy Tuesday.
We are here for September with our second series, our Adulting 101, if you will.
Don't we all need that?
So it turns out we're adults now and we have to make the decisions. And Kayla and I were just talking about how woefully ill-equipped we feel, but we've learned some things. So let me just map out real quick where we're going. This week, we are talking about budgeting, right? Is that the right word?
Yeah, so such a sexy word. Money and budgeting.
My least favorite topics. Actually, I really like the idea of having a budget, but I've never really been able to formulate something properly. I just hate math and numbers. Okay, so we're talking about budgeting for adults. What does that look like? Help. Kayla is using all of her smarty pants skills to help me. I am the woefully unskilled peasant in this episode, and I'm very excited. Next week, we're going to be talking about advanced directives. What is that? Well, it's basically mapping out kind of what you would want to happen if something happens to you. So check that out. Well, you can't yet, but you will be able to. After that, we are taking another pivot to everyone's favorite topic of what am I going to eat for dinner?
That's the worst part of adulting, having to figure that out every day. Every day of your life, you have to figure it out, and then
And then Kayla's new added layer of feeding her child, who's just recently entered into the realm of real food instead of liquid. And then I think our last topic is talking about sort of home purchasing tips, tricks, information, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
That's
ma'am.
going to be another one that is Kayla's expertise. I don't know jack shit. So anyhow, join us, hang out. Let us know if there's anything that we missed. For those of you that are older and more experienced and advanced in life, please give us your recommendations. But we just thought it would be worth covering some of the stuff that they decided not to teach us in school in lieu of teaching me how to make maple syrup and identify a parallelogram.
Well, I'll save my conspiracy theory for next quarter, but yeah, I'm sure there's reasons why they don't.
They don't want us to be able to participate in the money making.
Exactly. They want us to keep it all for themselves. But no matter where you are, if you are a CEO or if you're working at McDonald's, it doesn't matter. Everyone should be able to plan, and there are things in place where you can get to where you want to be financially, whatever your goals may be. So I'm excited to talk about this today.
Me too. I would also just like to acknowledge a moment of gratitude that we both have jobs and homes and husbands and things are stable, because I know a lot of people are struggling right now with inflation and things are hard and things can seem, especially for our generation, how in the fuck could I ever buy a house? I think there's a lot of challenges, and I know I'm feeling the squeeze and I'm not in dire straits. So anytime any of these topics come up, I always just like to take a minute to be grateful that you and I are stable and doing well. So we joke about where did all my money go and why can't I afford all the treats that I want? But before we get into all of those conversations, I do very seriously want to acknowledge that I know there's a lot of people having a hard time. And like Kayla said, we all can benefit from budgeting in some form or another. So what it looks like for you or what it looks like for other people, I don't think the comparison part is healthy. But anyway, we have a little tool, and this will be a fun little treat. So money and budgeting and all of that is not necessarily a fun topic, but I think will be fun to chat about.
Hey, turkeys, real quick, we want to tell you about our fun new free craft corner. Every quarter, in line with the equinox or solstice, we are going to send out new farts and crafts projects. You can find the link in the show notes. Just drop us your email. We promise not to spam you, but we'd love for you to join us. Now back to the show. Yes, I feel like money is a taboo topic, but I feel like you need to be aware of what's going on, and I'll get into that. But I have an opening question for you, Kaylee. Trivia for you. Actually, it's just a life decision question. Okay, if a genie came up to you right now and offered you $1 million that you could literally take right at this moment, or you can take a penny every day that doubles for 31 days, which one would you choose?
I just feel like that I should take the penny because of the compounding interest.
You would be correct. Dude, do you know the difference between $1 million right now and taking a penny that doubles for 31 days? 1 million compared to 10,737 for 18,000. I can't, well, math words. It's basically over $10 million.
That's crazy.
Is that not ridiculous?
Okay, well, we're going to get into our tip of the week later on, but I went on a little bit of a trying to understand, like, what the fuck is a stock? You know, that whole game.
It's confusing.
Just I'm not from a family of wealth. How do I dip my toe into this world that is clearly the thing that you're supposed to do? Anyway, just a teeny bit that I learned about compounding interest and how, just putting in $50 from my paycheck every week and what that looks like when it builds versus, just trying to save money in a banking account for later. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it's all very interesting. And like I said, math and dollars and numbers are not my thing. But let's do it. I'm excited.
Dude, okay, yes. So we'll come back to that topic because I have notes on that. But as far as budgeting goes, it's like when you start a diet and you need to track your macros, even though no one wants to do it. And then you realize how much absolute garbage you're eating and how much creamer it actually is in your coffee and with the calories. And once you track things, you see the patterns and you're like, oh my God. I didn't even know how much I was eating. I didn't even know how many calories were in this protein bar or whatever it is, So I feel like that's it's such a good parallel to financing because if you're not tracking your money and you're not doing a monthly check-in or a quarterly check-in or a budget, it's like really easy to just be swipping and swiping and be like, yeah, sure, whatever. I think I'm good. And unless my card gets declined, then we good, Like there's apps now for managing subscriptions because people spend money on subscriptions that they don't really use and they're just wasting money. There's, just understanding, oh wow, I eat this much out or I order this much money in Uber Eats. Holy crap, I need to reel it in, So having something to track is the first step. And you don't have to do it every day. You can do it at the end of the month and like pull up all your stuff from your bank statement or transaction history and plug it in. So there's different ways to do it where you don't feel like you have to think about it every day. As far as a budget goes, now everyone has different life goals, but there's these 3 F's you could break it down to. And it's not the F's that you're thinking about. Yeah, exactly.
Fuck everybody.
Fuck you, money. Fuck me, money. No, I'm kidding. Fundamentals, which is obviously like your bills, the things you have to pay for, the things that are necessary to live and like you have to pay them. So the fundamentals normally make about, the goal is 50%. Some people right now it's 90%. Like it's really tough right now. But the goal is to somewhere get that in the middle where you have more room for other things. So 30%, according to this kind of breakdown, financial guidance is 30% fun, which depending on the stage of your life, I may disagree with, and then 20% future you. So in this example, it's like 50% is you're going to the bills and the things you have to pay for. 30% is fun, living in the moment, taking a vacation or going out to dinner with your family. And then 20% is like future you savings.
Is fun, haircuts, and all of that.
Technically, that's not an absolute necessity. It would be considered
okay, because that makes fun sound a little more reasonable at 30%.
True.
if it's sort of your extra little
Yeah.
doodads.
Fundamentals
Okay.
will be like your utilities, like gas to get to work, your bills, stuff like that. Fun
Damn
is,
student loans.
yes, fun is anything that you could live without if you absolutely had to, like getting your hair done, entertainment, stuff like that. And then future you is putting into savings account, putting into investment accounts, doing whatever, investing your money in so that it can pay you back later. Depending on where you at in life, how much money you're making, how much wiggle room you have, I think these percentages could change, and sometimes they have to change.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a time where we were very aggressive and fun went down to like 15-20% and we were saving more. And now we're at a time where maybe our fundamentals are more than 50% and now we're kind of having to cut back on those other ones. But that's kind of a easy rule of thumb to try to gauge where you're at or a goal for where you want to be. Just
That's
depends
also
on the
good if
person.
you're looking at apartments or if you're trying to plan out buying a home and a potential mortgage payment to try and fit it within that. Use that as a benchmark. Because I think a lot of people have the mentality of like, we just spend like their car payment, their home, and their utilities is going to be damn near 75-80%.
Exactly.
And in some situations, I don't know that that's avoidable. But if you are doing some planning and you're looking around, that's a really helpful number to have in mind to sort of set a budget as you're looking.
If you're looking at 2 apartments or 2 houses and one's going to keep you in that 50 to 55%, 60% range, great. If one's going to push you over to the 80%, 90%, it's probably not a long-term good investment unless you're expecting a raise or expecting a promotion. And even still, it's more risk to that. That's the gist of like the fundamentals or like the percentages of what to try to do. My other pro tip is if you have like bills or you have a savings setup, which we'll get into in a little bit. If you have the money to set aside to save, putting that on auto draft or auto pay is super helpful because yeah, bills you have to do or else you're going to get letters in the mail. But if you have the opportunity to save and you don't have it automatically set up, it's going to sit in your bank account and more than likely you will end up spending it rather than remembering, oh, I'm going to move that money over to whatever account that I'm going to invest in. So that's down the line. Once you get those things set up and where you place your money, you figure that out. But when you do, I would always say if you can, put it on auto pay. If you have the wiggle room to make sure you can always, like in my mind, I almost loop that into fundamentals. Like this is what's coming out of my paycheck separately than my 401k to go to these investments accounts. That is a bill in my brain because if I think about it like that, then it just goes and I can't be like, oh, well, maybe I'll just buy some shoes with that. Like, no, it's going there, you know?
Yeah. That's one thing as I started on this whole journey was the 401k or whatever that looks like for you. If your company has one and matches, I mean, if it is at all within the realm of possibilities of things that you're able to do, it is so worth it to do that. I might be jumping ahead a little on you, but that's that same principle is that it's out. I mean, mine pull from my paycheck. I don't ever see them. I honestly, I don't even go look at my gross pay because it makes me want to die because of everything else that comes out of it.
Yes. Yep.
I don't want to know. I don't think any of these things are even going to be there when I'm old. Whatever. And then I kind of have to remind myself too, like, okay, 10% of my paycheck every month is going into my IRA account before I even get my money. So sometimes when I get discouraged, I have to kind of remind myself of that too. But it's a good way to keep yourself honest and to force it. And if you don't ever see that money, you kind of, for me, then I just kind of forget it's there. So that's been a good trick for me. But definitely if you have matching, if you can at least get to the point where you're maxing out their matched contribution. I know it's not possible for everybody, so just do what you can. But Kayla's penny example, I think, really highlights why that can be important. And
yes,
Mama wants some free money.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, we'll hit back on 401k in a little bit. My other tidbit, and then we can jump into the free tool that we have created and are offering you guys, is if you are like, you guys are absolutely crazy. There's not even money for me to save. I am barely scraping by. Totally get it. If you end up using a budget though, and you see what's coming out then maybe then you will be aware of maybe the things that you can change. Some things you can't change. You obviously have to buy groceries to feed your family, but do you need Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, and Apple TV? Like, if you're not using all of those things, maybe cancel a couple for 6 months. See if you can save some money that way. But you can't really know that unless you keep track of everything. So there's so many budgets out there. And if you don't like the one that we have, then you can find a different one. But I've used a lot, and there's some things that I like about others and some things I don't like about others. And I've tried to create one that looks easy for my brain, because if it looks complicated, I'm immediately turned off and I can't even input anything. Yeah, it's like, too much. It's easy. It's very explainable, and it basically is all calculated for you because I put in all the formulas. So I don't know if you want to pull it up. People can take a look at it.
I'm so excited. I also just will share, I've never done a budget. I have had the intention of setting a budget about 900 different times in my life, and it doesn't happen. And so every month I'm just like, okay, I can't spend money. So I just spend the whole month being like clenched up about not spending any money. It's a horrible way of living. So I'm really excited. I'm going to set a goal for myself to do this for the entire month of September, and then just see where I'm at. I don't know. Maybe we'll come back and do a like a chit chat about it later, but I'm very excited. So for everybody out there listening, I'm going to be the ultimate guinea pig. Okay. Can you see this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Should I make it bigger?
Yeah, if you can.
I just want everyone to know how cute this is. I'm sorry that if you're listening only and excuse me, if you're only listening and you can't see it, I'm sorry, but it's so cute.
If you're listening and you want to go back to our YouTube, all of our videos on YouTube, by the way, we can see our pretty faces. And if you skip ahead to about 17, 18 minutes, you will be able to see this. But yeah, so this is the main page. There's another one that we don't have to get into yet, but this is going to be the bulk of everything. So up at the top, there's like an income section. There we go. There's income. Now, if you have just a 9 to 5, then that's probably going to be what you're looking at. But if you have a side hustle, if you have, I don't know, child support coming in, like literally anything that's coming into your account is what you would put into the income options. So I literally just threw in random numbers in here. They will automatically total up to the number in the nice little green highlighted box.
Oh, perfect. So if my spouse gets fired.
Mm-hmm. You said your spouse?
Yeah.
Yes. So you can do this. You can do this as an individual, or if you have the type of relationship or marriage, hopefully, where you have this information, then you could do it as a household. It's totally up to you and what your goals are. But yeah, so when you put it to 0, it changed the number to 4,000.
I just wanted to show everybody how fun this is. I love the colors. It's so aesthetically pleasing. Okay.
And then you have your fixed and your variable expenses, which is your fixed expenses are kind of like within that fundamentals. Like you have to pay your rent, you have to pay your utilities. Do you have a phone bill? Do you have to pay credit cards off? So if you, under HOA, Kaylee, if you click on that box right underneath.
This one?
Yep. There should be a drop down.
Oh, yes.
So you'll be able to pick your category.
Oh, that's so nice. I have a question.
Yeah.
Is this amount the monthly amount?
Yes.
Can we set something up that's an annual fixed expense? Or for purposes of this, I guess you would just divide it by 12 to get what that costs you monthly?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just thinking of HOA, like our HOA fee is an annual.
Yeah. Like sometimes like we pay our insurance every 6 months, so it's technically not coming out in every month, but you can kind of see, if you were to break it down, you would just take that and divide it by 6, or your HOA, you take that and divide it by 12. Did you click the drop down arrow? Maybe the screen didn't populate. Is anything coming down?
Yeah, that's why I got so excited. There's the little droppy of like utility, like the different categories.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, for some reason it didn't show on the screen share, but yeah.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, anyway. There's a little drop down, so you can select, and then you can write in your so the description section, you can free ball whatever it is.
Exactly. If you need to define it in more terms than HOA, like that's pretty obvious. So anyway, as you plug in these fixed expenses, the ones that you have to do, you're going to see the total at the bottom. In this example, it's $2,170 in that nice little light purple color. And then your variable expenses are things like the fun stuff, or emergencies. Like what if you have a repair, like a home repair, or something comes up and you have to go to the doctor. These are variable expenses that you don't have set every month. It's going to change potentially, or you have the power to change them. Like restaurants. Okay, groceries right now, 500 actually seems kind of reasonable because it's freaking expensive. But maybe do we have to spend $400 in restaurants when I know that money can go farther elsewhere? These are the things, and this is why what I personally do is at the end of the month, I plug these things in because there's certain things like, okay, yeah, on the 1st, I'm going to pay my mortgage. I'll plug that in. On the 5th, I have these 3 things due. But then the things that like Amazon, I order several things on Amazon throughout the month, or restaurants and Uber Eats and gas. I just go in after the end of the month and I pull all of that data and add it up and plug it in, if that makes sense.
So so you put in, just for my brain, if we're like, I'm going to do this for September, I can either go in at the end of the week, which might be what I do, just so I don't get overwhelmed. But
Yes.
I would just go in and add up those totals in these different categories. And then this is a picture of what it's showing me. And then later on, I can maybe set like, this is what I actually want to spend.
Yes. So if you go down a little bit of the ways, we can skip down to the bottom. So down it says goal versus actual. So you can input your goal, whether that's cutting back on restaurants or saving money. So for this example, I want to save 1,000. Let's go back up so we'll go in order and then I can explain the difference. So basically you're putting in your variable expenses and you're getting a new total at the bottom of that. That one's $1,375. Okay.
Okay.
So then going down to the total breakdown right underneath that box, you're going to see the total income, which is from the top. The colors match. So it's 4,500. Your total expenses is 3,545 in that light purple color. That's taking your fixed expenses and your variable expenses and putting them together. And then underneath that is the total savings, which is in light orange, which we haven't talked to, but it's literally the box right next to you. It's showing, and this is on your income after taxes and after you've contributed. So if you're contributing to your 401k and it already gets pulled out, you don't have to put that in here. But if you're additionally saving on top of that, like this one, I just put in like, oh, I'm going to put in $50 in my savings account, or I'm going to put $100 into my high yield savings account. And maybe I'm going to be really extra awesome and put $100 in my Roth IRA. So I've saved $250 a month this month. Okay. So that is where that's coming
out of your goal of putting this just leftovers.
Yes, I want to be investing money, and then I want to be saving on top of that. So my goal is to, beyond my expenses and my savings plan that's kind of set and automated, I want to save $1,000, because if you go to the second tab where it says long-term goals, this isn't completely finished yet, but you have some short-term goals and some long-term goals that you can lay out. And so my short-term goal is to save $1,000 a month between, this example was January through May, because my long-term goal is to save $5,000 for a down payment on a new car. So like this money is needing to be saved outside of investments because I need to purchase something, by whatever time frame. Now, if you don't have these short-term or long-term goals, and you don't need to get into this, you can just see where the money's coming from. And if you go back to the other page, I think there's like $725 remaining. Yeah, 705 is the net balance after your expenses in your savings plan. So in that case, you can invest the rest. You can just save it for next month. If you think next month is going to be a little tighter, you can just put it somewhere else like that. This way you see how much you have left, and that way you know what to adjust potentially the next coming months. Does that make sense?
Yeah. This is really helpful. I'm really excited.
Good.
I'm a little bit scared of what my numbers are going to look like.
I know.
I think it might be fun. I want to do this and figure out a way. I'll probably need your help, but I want to do this and figure out a way where I can share my results, but as percentages, maybe, of my income, just so that I'm not out here showing everybody what I make. I don't know. That feels like too much information to share, but I think that would be fun.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. So yeah, it's just you gotta kind of get into the weeds, and it does feel a little icky. Like sometimes there's certain parts of the month where I'm like, I don't even want to log into my bank account. Like I don't want to see what I've done. But you just have to get through the ickiness part of it to plan for the future. Because if you don't do it now, it's gonna come bite you in the ass. Even if all your bills are paid and you're fine, when you're 65 and you want to retire, realizing, oh shit, I didn't save enough to live like this. I got to keep working. That's where
Mm-hmm.
this comes in the long term. So, any questions on that?
No, I'm just so excited. I think this is a really tangible way to, like you said, just get a sense. And going back to what you said of why it's important, money just feels fake because we have cards and it's
Yes.
willy-nilly. And, you know, when I worked at Starbucks, I had cash tips, and that was such a good budgeting tool for me because my cash tips were separate from my bank account, and that was my fun money.
Yep.
So whatever my tips were, I just was like, this is my goof off, blow out my butthole money. And that was great. It was a great it was a great budgeting tool because I was able, when the physical cash ran out, I was done. Just
Yep.
like, you're done. And I remember as a kid, my mom used to do envelopes. They would get cash out of their paycheck and they would put it in different envelopes for entertainment or saving up for Christmas and stuff like that. Most of us don't want the extra step in our life of having to go and do that. And so this is such a nice way to be able to track some of those things electronically. And I loved what you said of just going back at the end of the month and pulling the data, or I'm going to try weekly, just because I think I'll probably behave better after the first week. Just putting in the money then. But that's so helpful to just kind of see, just like you said with eating. Like I had no sense of how much fat was in peanut butter and cheese until I started tracking. And I was like, well, I'm blasting my caloric intake in my one morning of peanut butter toast with fucking cheese eggs. So anyway, I'm so amped.
Good. Yeah, because like you go to the gas station, you get a little treat. You run through Starbucks and you get a little treat. $3, $5, whatever dollars. Well, when you do that every day, it adds up. And then you're like, oh boy, okay, this is good to know. I need to like bring a snack from home or whatever. So yeah, it's very helpful.
And I think an unknown quantity causes way more stress than knowing what it is. Like if you hear a sound that you can't see in your house, what you imagine it to be is way scarier than if you go and see that it's your dog scratching his ear and not a child running across the floor, a child ghost.
And even if it is a little scary, like maybe a little scary, it's better to address it head on now than just let it be haunting you in the background for years and years and years.
And again, not addressing the avoidance, I think, is ultimately more stressful. I'm great at avoiding. I will bury my head in the sand, especially when we're talking about money. I do exactly what you did. You know, the end of the month comes and I do like the whole one eye look at my bank account to see what happened. But ultimately it's more stress because every dollar I spend, I feel like I'm not supposed to be spending versus if I was doing this and I knew where I was at, I don't have to feel guilty about an entertainment purchase when it is within the realm of the entertainment purchases I can do.
I agree. Sorry, there's noises and I'm not sure if y'all can hear that, but anyway. So okay, that's budgeting. If you guys we'll put a link to sign up for our emails and then we'll give that to you guys for free. There's a few other things I want to touch on real quick. This is just a like extra bonus. Like, why did they not teach us this in school? Did you know? If you're at a point where you're feeling good about your budget, then maybe these would be the next steps to look into because I feel like they're very important. Okay, so 401k or investment accounts. Everyone talks about a Roth IRA. What's a Roth? Roth. Get a Roth. If you have the ability to set up, you can even set up your 401k, at least with my company, you can, to your money's going into a Roth IRA versus a traditional IRA. A Roth IRA is basically taxed before you contribute into the account so that later on when you pull that money out, you don't have to pay taxes on it, which is usually beneficial. Now, if you do a traditional IRA, you're taxed at the point of withdrawal, withdrawal. So for people who are in a higher tax break rate or higher tax bracket right now, may do this because they don't want to pay taxes on it now, but maybe later on when they're 65 or whenever they want to pull, maybe they're not making as much money and they can pull it at that time and get taxed on it later when their tax bracket is lower. The other thing about this is that if you make as far as 2024, that's the year that we're in, if you make more than 161,000 individually, I should have pulled the household number, but I forgot. But there is an income limit. So if you make more than that, you can't contribute to a Roth IRA. It's just not an option. But there are ways to do a traditional IRA and then move it over on the back end to a Roth. So there's a lot of fun, interesting things, but if you have the ability, normally a Roth IRA is a little bit more beneficial to most people if you have the choice, if you see that as an option as you're setting up your 401k or opening up another investment account. So that's my tidbit there. I know you kind of were going through this with your financial advisor. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so for my federal government employees out there, we have what's called TSP. It's a thrift savings plan. It is an IRA. It's just a little bit different. They don't call it a 401k, even though it's basically what it is. But yeah, same setup. Roth versus traditional IRA. I can't say enough about working with a financial planner, because if they are working as a fiduciary, under the fiduciary model, they're taking what? They're taking like a portion of the earnings on their side,
like a percentage.
But you're not paying them money up front.
Yeah.
So it behooves them to do good for you. And what they're earning is nothing like what I had imagined from hearing schmidgens about hedge fund managers. And this is like layman's normal people investing. So that was helpful for us because they already have models set up to plug in data for, what should be your goal in retirement for your income. How much do you want to save? How much do you need to contribute? All of that kind of stuff that the normal person, I don't think, really knows how to accommodate. This budget tool is going to be great for our day to day and a short term and a long term goal. But when we're talking like as 30-year-olds, what does 65 look like?
Yeah.
They're going to know a lot of those tricks and things like that. So it was helpful just to have the reassurance, even of someone else telling us, hey, you guys are on the right track, or we need to try to look at some other things. So that's something I would recommend. Like I said, when I learned what compound interest really meant, that was astounding to me. My organization matches 5%. And they give us 1% for being alive. So
I love it.
To me, it was so important to at least be able to put in that 5, so that I could take full advantage of them matching. And then when I got a raise, I just upped the percentage because I was already living okay on my current amount. So I figured, well, it's very anticlimactic, but I was like, I'll just get rid of the raise before I even have time to budget for it. So yeah, all of that was really, really helpful. But as far as like the day-to-day budgeting, I've been really just fucking around. So this is going to be a good tool for me to get a little bit more serious. And I just don't want to have guilt every time I spend money. Yeah. And money is just such an awkward topic for me anyway. And stuff has gone up so much lately. So what Jason and I had budgeted for groceries and stuff like that, I think is probably way off because stuff's gotten so expensive.
I agree.
So,
okay, I've got like 2 to 3 more potential quick little things that I want to share. Okay. If you have the opportunity to save money, instead of saving it into your bank account, like say you have a Wells Fargo checking and savings account, it is good to have some money there if you need it, like for overdraft purposes or whatever. But if you're able to open a high yield savings account, which I did not learn until I took a financial course in 2020, it's a game changer. You put your money into a high yield savings account. I have Ally, shout out to Ally. You're still able to pull it. It's liquid, it's movable. You don't have any penalties for taking it out. But when you put it in there, instead of getting a penny interest as you would on your savings account in a bank account, Ally, for example, gives you a 4.2% annual percentage yield earnings. So you're getting a lot more money for letting your money sit there. and grow faster than it would just be in a savings account in your bank. And you can still pull from it in emergencies and stuff like that.
Oh, Jason and I have some conversations to have.
That's my biggest tip. If you have the money to save, put some in your bank account savings, but if it's sitting there, you're just wasting money because you could be earning a lot more in a high yield savings account.
Like if you've funded an emergency fund, so to speak, that would be a good place to put it.
Exactly. Yep. The other thing that people don't take advantage of enough is HSA if your employer offers them. Oh my God. I learned about this too, not too long ago, but there's so many tax benefits of contributing to a HSA. You're putting in the money directly pre-tax, and then you're basically just taking that and paying for medical bills or prescriptions or whatever. So you're saving a lot more money. Your money's going farther because you're not having to take out the tax part of it. So that's a huge, if you can contribute to HSA. You can even put the funds that are sitting in your HSA into investment accounts within, which I also was like shocked about. I had no idea.
Oh.
Now it may differ, but at least ours, you can invest the money in HSA. So not only is it pre-tax money that you can use with much more benefit, you could also put it in there and let it grow before you use it. Like we don't use it a lot, but if you wanted to have another growth sector of your financial portfolio, you could stick it in there. Okay, my last thing real quick, because this is a whole game changer. This is like the last level, and then there's more levels, but this is my last level of things that you could do to utilize your money. It's a little bit more expensive, but if you get to the point where you can afford whole life or permanent insurance, there's like so many back hole loop things that you can do with your own money that the wealthy use to like save on interest rates. So like say you have a whole life insurance policy where you're paying premiums every month. I'm not the expert in this, but this is the things that you can do. You can take that money in your life insurance policy and borrow against yourself and take that out for a loan. So instead of you going to a bank and getting a loan from the bank and having to pay however much interest they're charging, if you have whole life insurance and you want to buy a house or you want to buy a business or you just need the money for a home renovation, you can take it out and borrow against your own life insurance tax-free, and then you can put it back later.
Interesting.
Yeah. And the other difference is there's like contractual guaranteed interest where your money will grow, like guaranteed by a certain rate in that insurance policy, versus a 401k. Obviously, yeah, the goal is for it to increase, but say something happens and we go into a recession and it does tank when you need it, it's more protected in a life insurance policy. And so basically you're becoming your own bank. You can borrow against yourself so that you get tax-free benefits, you're not paying high interest rates, and you get long-term growth. I just thought that was crazy. We don't have this yet, but it's definitely something that is like in our 5 to 10 year plan to get, because I just think it's such a cool way to utilize tools where you can save money long term. I don't know. I just thought that was really cool.
This is why money begets money. If you come from a family with money, then you learn all this shit. And for those of us who just kind of grew up with the normal, like you work your job, you pay your bills, and then you cross your fingers when you turn 65. This stuff's so helpful. And I felt so behind the curve. So it's cool to learn more and be able to share.
Yes. 3 more quick little tippies for me, and then I know you have a thingy thing, but if you're looking for an easy way to start investing, Acorns is the thing I first started with. Acorns is literally what it's called. You can basically dictate them to round up like if I spend $7.30 at a gas station, they'll round up the 70 cents and invest it for me. And it's automatic. So whatever the difference is, you can round it up and that automatically gets thrown into investments. You can also do like a monthly thing. I think I do $20 a month. It's like very passive investment, and it's very low numbers that I don't even notice it, which is cool. The other thing is, if you want to open an actual investment account, obviously talk to a financial advisor, and we are not giving you recommendations. So this is just for entertainment purposes only, but I really like Wealthfront because you can open your own personal investment account and even put like $500 in there. But it has a really cool tracking system where if you can't afford a financial advisor at the time, it will lay out what do you have right now versus what do you need at 65. When do you want to retire? 50? Okay, this is what you need to change. If you stick with the
that's
plan
cool.
right now, you will probably have to work till 70 to be able to live comfortably. And you can plug in numbers like, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to retire. It's super nice. And my last thing is a free app as used to be called Mint. I think it's now Intuit Mint. It's a part of Credit Karma. But basically,
Yeah.
it's similar where you can plug in numbers and it kind of tracks things for you if you want an app versus an Excel spreadsheet.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I love that. And well, I don't want to like blast the name of the person that I'm using, but the fiduciary model for a financial advisor is just a very accessible way to get started. Because, like I said, we sat down, we met with them, and we're not paying them an hourly fee.
True. Yep.
So you're just like, they're making a little bit of money as we make money, but they're not taking money from us. And if we don't make money, they don't make money.
Yes. It's not like you're sitting down with an attorney and you have to pay them by the hour. It's like
exactly
they're working with you and then they're going to get paid a small percentage commission on the things that they're doing for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Only on the earnings. So if they're doing a shitty job, then they don't get paid. And I kind of appreciate how that is built in. All right. Well, with that, it is time. Let's tip. Kayla just gave you like 500 tips. But just one other one. If you like to consume information via podcasts, there is the Money with Katie show. They're really short. I want to say they're like less than 30-minute episodes. She's not some highbrow fancy expert. She's just kind of a normal person that got into some of this stuff. She really broke down the words. Like, what the fuck is a NASDAQ? Like, what is the 50? Anyway, all these words that you hear all the time. The S&P 500.
Yes.
You know, like, there's all this shit. What is compounding interest? Roth versus traditional? All of that kind of stuff. She does it in a really accessible way. And I listened to her podcast for probably 6 months when I was trying to get my bearings. And it was so helpful, because if somebody starts using big words and stuff that's way above my head, I'm done. So if you're just starting off and you're confused and you want to know more, check out the Money with Katie show. It's fun. She's fun. They're short. They're easy to consume. And she's got a ton out there. So you can go back in the vault and just pick and choose what you want to learn about. And that's all I got.
I love that.
Thank you for sharing. This was so fun.
You're welcome. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
That was me saving money. Reel it in, Kayla.